say to you today, my friends, so even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day that this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the contents of their character. Or I have a dream today. With this faith, we'll be able to work, pray, struggle, go to jail together, and to stand up for freedom together, know that we'll be free one day. This will be the day. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet lands of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. So let freedom ring. When we allow freedom to ring, when we let it ring, from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we'll be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, the Jews and Gentiles, the Protestants and Catholics will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last, thank God Almighty that we are free at last.
Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a prophet who shed light on the enduring and urgent tensions between white and black America over race and class. He was a prophet who led the nation out of the darkness of Jim Crow. His promised land was conjured on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial in 1963, where his 4 little children would not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the contents of their character. He knew our country was embarking on a long twilight struggle against poverty and violence. We've got some difficult days ahead, he preached the night before he died.
His impact, his legacy, and mission remains alive today and will far surpass the span of any lifetime. In fact, I am certain he intended his work to live beyond him, and certainly he knew his great civil and human rights projects would take much more than 1 generation to be realized. In this respect, they live within all of those who are willing to continue working where he left off.
In 52 years since his death, it would seem, he'd have comments on the state of his dream. What would Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. say if he were present and alive today? There would be many issues to address: economics, education, and yes, the moral status of our nation, healthcare, poverty, and race relations. He would talk to the young and walk among the youth to inspire with word or song, to gain their perspective on what is wrong, to uplift their spirits and make them strong.
Nonviolence is his priority when questioning injustice authority. From his past, it was easy to speculate his view on love and his stance on hate. So listen to the pundits as they summarize how this world would look through the dreamer's eyes. Where there isn't just he wanted to stop this visionary who has seen the mountaintop. This leader who has seen the promised land would staunchly advocate a moral stand, would commend progress but not ignore the obligation to do much and more.
What would Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. say if he were present and alive today? He'd smile to see we'd have a president of African American descent. But the prison industrial complex grew as a wellspring for local revenue, and we destabilized communities by shipping their industries overseas. Divisive feelings on integration, polarized factions on immigration, forgot the historical manuscript, enmity to the poor, and a new script, where faith does not compel us to embrace specific members of the human race. Face our neighbors with equality, reality, and not mythology.
How would human trafficking break his heart? As racial injustice tears us apart, bondage, child predators, and kidnapping, the violence in the neighborhood sapping our strength. More violence, more hatred leads to more casualties, and we exist in a reality without censorship or morality. What would Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. say if he were present and alive today? He would note knowledge proliferation, yet many minds turn from education. While he would acknowledge improvements made, it would sadden him that we are afraid of each other at an alarming rate, while others are training their hearts to hate.
He would weigh in on the ruckus debate, on flags and logos as symbols of hate. Atrocities done in religion's name, people have abandoned conscience and shame. We live in a world where anything goes. Morality changes as the wind blows. But there is hope that the dream is still alive, and as long as there is hope, we will still strive. The marches for voter registration have been nullified through legislation. New barriers are put in place that they claim have nothing to do with race, but they are designed to restrict the vote. When he was in prison, the words he wrote to reach us and beseech us from within the jail to ensure that we as a nation would not fail.
What would Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. say if he was present and alive today? Systemic problems will be called to bear, and through word and action, he would declare. Injustice, if it is found anywhere, is a threat to justice everywhere. Leadership with love will help us broker excellence over the mediocre. We have made progress in treating this disease, but I'm sure Dr. King would not be pleased. Of all the forms of inequality, he once stated without apology, injustice injustice in healthcare is the most shocking and inhumane. But forces are blocking character, not the color of skin, from being a part of our discipline. And equal rights, we have made strides, but bias and injustice still reside. We should have traveled much farther along in fighting for rights and righting the wrongs. The notion that times are not as they were is shattered by a racial slur. Proximity to how it used to be should stop us short of claiming victory.
They have just told you exactly what I would say.